inviting me. I'm glad to be here. So I have two quick PowerPoint presentation. Please stop me in the middle of my presentation if you have any question to ask me. So first PowerPoint is all about who we are, what we do, and the second one is going to be the most interesting one that you are looking for probably. So I'm from Employment Services, Labor Education Center. We are from Labor Board, and we are supporting unions. And if there are any dispute between employer and laborers, they come to us. Specifically for the job search, I'm part of the program that we are supporting people who are looking for a job or employment with the training as well. I'm supporting employers too. So we have so many different services. So I'm just going very quickly on these ones just to remind you. We help employers by job fairs and also some incentive. So mostly about hiring incentive. If you are a job seeker or if you're an employer looking to hire someone, there is some funding available. We call it hiring incentive. We cover the cost of salary for the first 8 to 12 weeks in order for employer to test individual on the job, and if they like, they can hire them. So this budget came from the government, and we are in charge of implementing and providing services to employers. So this is one of the most interesting one. The other program we have is a second career literacy apprenticeship and Canada Ontario Job Grant. This is the one I'm here for. So, is it finished? Is that okay? The second career, have you heard about it? So, yeah. So if you're laid off and you want to be trained, there is some funding available. The process has to go through us. We help the people to apply for this. So contact me if you are interested. So there are some, criteria in order to use the second career. You have to show that you've been laid off and you're looking for a job. You cannot find a job. That's why you're changing your career. So we will help you with modifying your application and supporting your application. So these are probably you're not interested. So that's why I'm just going quickly through these ones. So Canada Ontario Job Grant. This is the program I'm here to talk about, and that helps employers, training center, and individuals. Because if employer decide that they want to train their staff, there are some funding available, up to $10,000 for each individual. For employer who are using this funding, they have to be working in Ontario. They have to follow all Employment Standard Act, safety rules, and they need to have the WSIB or workplace insurance in order to use that. I'm going to talk more about in detail in terms of what the process is for you to apply and what area you need to look into. Can we have the next PowerPoint, if you don't mind? Any questions so far? So the PowerPoint that you are going to pull up, it's actually on the government website. But because there are so many pages, so many detail, sometimes it's easier if we review it together. And then if there is any question, I can respond. Have you ever heard about Canada Ontario Job Grant? Any of you? It started in 2014-15 when the government introduced this program. And they wanted to support, employer or companies in order to keep their workforce on the job. So it's going. So let's see if we can have those ones. Okay, great. That's the one. Can I change this with this? Yeah. Yes. Okay, great, wonderful. So, sorry?
This is PDF, the other one was PowerPoint.
Yes, okay, great. So in here, the program is to help employers who want to train their staff. So for employer more than 100 employees in place, the funding is 50%. At the beginning, when the program started, it was more generous. 2/3 of the training cost was covered. Now they changed the rules. So as it goes, we go through it, they make the rules harder and harder for people to use. So the large companies, over 100 people, staff, they can receive 50% of the training cost. For the small employers, they can receive 5/6 of the training cost. And if it's a new hire, 100%. So if a company decides to hire someone new for the job and say, if you go through this training, I will hire you after, we cover the full 100%. It's the funding can cover the textbooks and softwares. Even if you are traveling for this training, we can cover the costs as well. Okay, so next one. As I said, the employer has to be licensed to work in Ontario. So there are some eligibility. So when the application comes to us, we are reviewing all the application against these guidelines to see if the employer is eligible. So if you want the link, I can send it to you later on. I'll probably share it in the group, so you can can read it through and see it. So the employer, and there is some employer who are not eligible for this training. And that is, if you are the manager or owner of the company, you cannot receive under this fund, you cannot be trained. Government agency cannot be trained. Even us who are delivering this program, we cannot receive this funding. So there are some eligibility criteria. When we are reviewing application, because it happened that last 5 years there were so many, you can repeatedly apply for this funding. So we look into the historical of what's happened to your, to your application before. Was it successful? So we take all these into consideration. So when you are applying online for this program, talk to me before you put the application, because if your application withdrawn or declined, that would be negative on your history. So if you want the future application and then they look in to see what was happening before, so they might decline it according to that. That's why read this through carefully and talk to us before you submit your application online. So even individuals, so the application come to us, we review it, we say, yes, that's good. So now we need to know who is receiving this training. So the participant, we call it, or the staff, or the new hires. So we have to make sure that this individual is eligible for the program. We look into the background of that individual. Does it help this individual to upgrade? And are they, permanent residents? So people on work permit are not allowed to use this funding because this is for people who are permanently staying in Canada. So we are looking into see the individual if they are eligible for the program. One more thing, when you submit the application as an employer, you need to make sure that there is some changes in the employee's status. Either they receive better position or higher salary. So we have, in order to have a stronger application, I need to write a rationale to government as why we are supporting this. So by looking into see that there is an increase in salary, that's proof that this training will help individual in the job. So that's another point. The training. So the training center also has to have some eligibility. So we review to see if the training is actually helping this business. So there has to be some relation between the training you're receiving and the employer business. One more thing that not any training center can be receiving this funding. They have to be in operation at least 2 years. Even new companies cannot receive this funding. They have to show that they have been active in the past 2 years in order for them to receive the training. Because the government noticed when they introduced this program that some people were just registering the company and they were using this funding. Mm-hmm. So that's why they brought this to say 2 years in the business you have to be. As I said, shareholders are not eligible to receive this funding as well. So more eligibility criteria for training centers in terms of they have to show that if they are the training centers or colleges, that's fine. But if you're just the individual trainer, you have to show that you have worked in the field for 2 years and you have been training for 2 years again as well. So and have a bachelor degree. So there are kind of criteria for the person who providing the training too. So this is product vendor. Sometimes, there are people who are providing products, especially softwares or things like that. And if they provide training and it's related to the product, we cannot support. But if you show as a product vendor that you are providing training in different areas, we can support through this program as well. Business consulting services, we cannot support this. Again, if it's a consulting service that the training center provide, we cannot. They have to show that this training is totally separate and it's not the business consulting service. There is a attestation process, which means that the employer and training center has to fill out a form that is already there to say that they not, there is no conflict of interest, and it's basically only training and it helps the individual. Employer contribution, again, for the larger employer, 50% we cover. For a small employer, 56%. And for the new hires, the full 100%. So if it's a large company and they want to train staff, more than 25 staff in the training, it goes directly to the government. But if it's a smaller group that's going for training under 25, it comes to us. So more information in terms of trading. There is some 15% administrative funding. So if there is a company who called Content who is providing services for the company to receive this program, there is a 50%, they can, charge those employers. So as I said, application come to us, we review, you need to give us 12 business day timeline in order for us to go through the process, evaluate and approve the application. And so clearly, before you pay for the training, the application has to be approved. And then we give you a heads up, yes, we can support, and then you go and pay for the training. There is assessment criteria that is online. I have to go through that one and then contact the employer to ask them what's going on. There are some tools that helps us. This is called Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. So if you're the first applicant, first company, to show that I want this training and I'm going to increase the salary, you're going to be Tier 1. So when the application all comes to us, and if it's Tier 1, we just simply approve it. But Tier 2, we have to wait and see if we have funding available. Tier 2 means that in the past 6 months or 12 months, you have submitted an application. So you already have first one. This is your second application coming to us. And there is no changes in the position. It will be considered as Tier 2. So first we serve Tier 1 and then Tier 2. And Tier 3 is the application that there is no changes in the position and it's a small training. So the last one would be Tier 3 that we are supporting. So when the application comes to us, we do investigation, review, search to make sure it's value for money, the training, and then we ask a few, document. It's listed in here. So you know what document we are going to ask you. I'm glad that they already mentioned all these ones. So here is all about Canada Ontario Job Grant. If you have any question, that's the end of my presentation. Yes?
I have many.
Okay.
But you mentioned that